Good evening, everyone. This is Robert Jamieson welcoming you to our online chess lesson for Thursday the 12th of September. And it's a big day today because I have a guest student here, Joe Flexmore. Say hello, Joey.
Hello.
How are you tonight?
Good.
All right. Now, we'd normally start off by finding a little bit about you. So how old are you?
13.
And what school do you go to?
Castlemaine Secondary College.
Okay, so country boy. Do you get much chess up there? How do you get chess in Castlemaine?
We got chess club at school on a Monday.
Do you go to Ballarat like a senior club or anything like that?
No.
Okay, so just play at school a bit and play online.
Yeah.
And you also went down to Best in the West, which was quite good. What's your rating?
I've got about 5 or 6. I think somewhere from 700 to 1200. I'm not really sure.
Okay. I thought 2 of them today, and I asked David to try and amalgamate them, so I'll get him to have a look for a few more. I think the one I saw was about 11 or 1200. And I saw you play a little bit at Best in the West, and you've sent me 4 games. Well, I've had a look at the 4 games up on Tornello for Best in the West, and you seem to play a pretty solid game. So do you get much coaching, or you've been studying in books, or have you become a good player?
I just play online.
Okay. And you've been playing for many years?
Yeah, about 6 maybe.
Okay. All right. Oh, well, that's a lot of experience. Okay. Now, the big question, our little puzzle today. How did you go with the puzzle? Do you think you've solved it, or you're still stuck?
I'm kind of stuck.
Okay, it's a pretty hard one, I think. Let me just switch over to our other page. There we go. All right. Did you have any ideas for white? Any sort of candidate moves sort of shoot out at you?
D5 and A4.
Okay. Now, I just showed this puzzle to Gary Lynn, one of my better students, and he struggled. He had his first idea. He said knight on F3, it sort of can't really go anywhere, so he had a look at knight D2 with the idea of going to E4, which is a nice square, but it doesn't really do anything terribly exciting. Then he had a look at your move D5. Now, what's your idea with D5?
Try and open up Black's 7th rank so I can get my stronger pieces in there after he recaptures with a pawn.
So if he captures with the E pawn, you're going to play knight D4, I'm thinking?
Yeah.
To get on his bishop and to threaten knight E6 check.
Yeah.
So that's possible. All right. What gives you the idea of trying to open up and get a Black's king?
I'm not sure. Not much seems to be happening.
All right. Have you heard of airy king syndrome?
Yep.
Yeah.
Not
So
exactly
I reckon All right. I reckon Black's king out there, all lonely on G7 with an open 7th rank and everything. If we could get our pieces at him, he'd be pretty exposed, whereas our king's nice and safe so long as he doesn't get back rank mated. All right. So how I tried to help. Oh, hang on. You had another trial. You said AE4 or something. What's your idea there? Doesn't he just take the pawn?
Yeah, I'm not really sure. I haven't looked much into that yet.
Okay. All right. So how I tried to help Gary, so I said, let's look at the big picture and ask ourselves what we'd like to do, what's holding us up, all that sort of stuff. So you've got your queen and your knight and your 2 rooks on fairly good squares. Black's not threatening anything. So what's holding you up, or what would you like to do?
Get my knight into E5, so the pawn on F6.
Can you realistically get rid of that pawn from F6 though?
G4 is probably my best chance at that, but...
Okay, but then you'd maybe end up with airy king syndrome. You might just play H6 or something. All right. Any other ideas what's holding you up? What about what would your rooks like to do?
They would be good to get in, but the bishop and the pawn are quite inseparable.
Yeah, so rooks like open files and all that sort of stuff, but he's blocked it. He's got that backward weak pawn on c6, but he's got it blocked and protected with the bishop. So that's a bit of a problem, isn't it? If you get those rooks in like to the 7th rank and everything, you might start a bit of an attack. So we've got a rough idea what we'd like to do. We'd like to get our rooks in, but we can't because that bishop and that pawn are there. So we've got to put our thinking cap on. Come on, anyone else want to help him? Type in the questions if you've got an idea for a good line for white. So far no one's come up with much. So Joey, if we're thinking about that, what's holding us up? Daniel's suggesting b3, so his plan would be to get pawn to a4 to get rid of that bishop. Do you like that idea?
b3. Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, what do you think Black would reply?
a4.
You probably play a4, so that stymies your idea, doesn't it? You can't get rid of that bishop.
Possibly.
All right, so we need another idea. Gil was also suggesting b3, so good try, Gil and Daniel. So that bishop and that pawn, they're holding us up. We'd really love to get rid of them. Use your imagination. Gary saw a good move, but he rejected it because he missed the good follow-up. So Gil and Daniel are now having a look at rook takes b5. So that would open up the file. The question is, can we do anything exciting there? What do you think, Joey?
Don't think so.
Doesn't seem to be worth the exchange, does it? No? Any other ideas? We want to get rid of that bishop and that pawn.
Knight to e5? No.
And if he takes it, you just lost the knight, haven't you, for a check on a pawn?
Yeah.
Right, we're thinking we're trying to get those rooks in. That bishop's holding us up. So put your thinking cap on. Liam's suggesting rook takes c6, but just bishop takes looks pretty good. So if we're trying to solve these problems, there's either two possibilities why we're not solving. Either we haven't seen the move, or we've seen the move, but we haven't looked deeply enough. Gil's now suggesting queen e4. So that's like a triple attack on c6, but we'd still have to give it up the exchange to get there. And he'd probably just protect it with a rook. Any ideas, Joey?
No.
You've been close. All right, let me give you a hint. So, as I said, that bishop's the problem. We want to get rid of the bishop. How do we get rid of the bishop? The obvious move, play a4 to try and force it away from c6. So if it moved like a6, we'd be in like Flynn. But the trouble is, he takes. Now, so most people stop thinking there. But a good player thinks a little bit deeper. Now we could go b3, but then his bishop would just go back, and we've got the same problem, haven't we?
Yeah.
So come on everyone, who's going to be the first to get it? So far a4 is right, bishop takes a4. Now we need a really cool idea for white. Bridgesh has got it, well done Bridgesh. Gil has missed it, Derek's missed it. Look around for what we can threaten, Joey. We're trying to get rid of that stupid bishop because he's holding up our roof. So Bridgesh is the only one who's... Oh no, Oliver's got it. Oliver Pridmore, well done Oliver. Derek's got it now. Come on Joey. Any ideas?
No.
All right. We lured the bishop away. The bishop is now unprotected. So what would happen if we played queen a3? We'd be attacking the bishop, wouldn't we?
Yep.
Where does the bishop have to go to?
b5.
All right. Is that it? We've just lost the pawn, or we have a good move here?
Rook takes b5.
Yes, rook takes b5, the move that most people miss. And then if pawn takes rook, we win the queen. And the queen takes queen, we interpose check. King moves, take the queen. We're a piece up, we win. Wow. Pretty cool combination. And a pretty tough one. So Bridgesh was the first to get it. Well done to Bridgesh and the others who got it subsequently. But you see the way we eventually stumble across these is looking at the big picture and maybe analysing a little bit deeper than we normally would try and find the answer. Okay, let's move on. Now, you wanted to have a look at your game against Tony Davis. So tell us about your game. Why do you want to have a look at that one?
I'm not sure. I just thought it was interesting. He played quite aggressively.
Yes, it was pretty interesting. All right, so let's set the scene. So Tony Davis, he's a pretty strong player. He's about 1850. So he's got you outrated by heaps. He's expected to beat you, and he's white. So what's your thoughts before the game? Did you have any particular plan or ideas or how you'd tackle him? Or have you seen him play before, or you played him before or anything?
No.
So you're just going to play your normal stuff and hope for the best?
Yep.
Yep. All right. If we know our opponents, one of the things we try to do is we try and get them in a sort of game that they don't like. So if they're attacking players, we get them in a boring game. If they're boring players, we get them in an attacking game. Or if we know their openings, we try and get them in an opening they don't know and we do. So that's the normal sort of battle when you're playing players who you know a bit about. All right, off we go. So he plays D4. So what do you normally do against D4?
D5.
Okay, you playing the Slav?
No.
You're not?
No.
Ah, okay. Now, he's played knight C3. Is that the normal move?
No, normally C4, I think.
Yep. All right. Now, I want everyone, see if you learnt from my previous lessons, I want everyone to type in what is wrong with knight C3 instead of C4. What's the problem with that move? You don't have to type it in, Joey, because I'm going to ask you, but you have got the right answer. Gil and Noam are saying C5. Joshua's got the right answer. Oliver's got the right answer. All right, so Joey, explain it to everyone. Why is knight C3 probably not the best move?
It's blocking the C2 pawn. And
okay, so why is that important? What does it matter if the pawn's blocked?
Then it can't be up in the centre next to the D pawn.
Yeah, so he's got one pawn in the centre, but after we do that, we generally try and get two pawns side by side. So white's either got to get the C pawn or the E pawn. That would be his normal middle game plan. But he's been naughty. Instead of playing C4, he's blocked it with knight C3. All right. So when he played that, did you think to yourself, oh, that's a bit strange, or you didn't really worry about it, or what?
Yeah, I didn't think it was the best move he could have made.
Yes. All right. Now, this is the first point. When someone makes a move and you think, oh, that's probably not the best move, that's not the main line, that looks a bit funny, you have to then sit down and work out what is wrong with it. There must be something wrong with it if it's not the most popular move or not the best move, and then you have to exploit it. All right. So what's your plan now that he's not going to be able to hit your centre with C4? What do you reckon you should do?
Try and get control of the centre myself, possibly.
Yes. How would you do that?
I'm not sure. Possibly E6 and C5. I don't know.
Yes. Okay. So the idea is, in the fullness of time, you will be able to play C5. So you will get your two pawns side by side. Your other pawn will probably be on E6. And so you will have the pawn play and he won't. Now, he won't so long as you have stopped him from playing E4. So your brain should be saying, aha, my immediate plan is to stop him playing E4. So what move are you going to do?
Knight F6.
Cool. All right. Then he goes bishop G5. Now, what do you think about that? What should we do about that? Are you worried that he's going to take your knight and double your pawns?
Yeah, a little bit.
Little bit. Okay. It's probably not a big deal because he'd have to give up his bishop for the knight, and you have a lot of pawns around your king then when you castle kingside. All right. What should you do do you think? Let's everyone help us. I'll give you... No, I won't give you anything. All right, guys. Black, what should Joey do? He's trying to stop white playing E4. So Gil and Noam want to play C5 straight away, or maybe bishop F5. Bridges wants e6. Joshua wants bishop f5. What do you want to do, Joey?
Knight b to d7.
You didn't do that in the game, I think. I think you did e6. So why have you now changed your mind?
It's a bit more solid, and even if he does then recapture, it just lets my knight out anyway.
Yes, yes. I agree entirely. If it were me, I think I'll play knight d7. I might follow up with h6 to question his bishop. I want him to take and then I take back with the knight and I'm happy, or I want his bishop to go away and I've gained a free move. And then I go for the setup e6 and c5 like we talked about. Yes, so that's exactly right. I think I'll do that. In the game you did e6. So that's a slight blunder because he can now rip in e4 after all. So we haven't exploited his knight and we've now just transposed into a normal French defence. Do you play the French defence?
No.
Okay, so guess who's won the opening?
Probably white.
Probably him, because he's probably got you into an opening that he knows a bit about and you're probably not too familiar because you're playing d4, d5, but suddenly we're in the French. All right, what are we going to do?
Bishop to e7?
Yep, bishop to e7. You could take on e4, but probably bishop e7 is more popular. All right, he keeps going, e5, so he's gaining space and forcing you to move that knight twice. So you go to d7. Now he makes a funny move. He plays h4. All right, what were your thoughts when he played h4?
I didn't really know what to think, except I probably didn't want to take on g5, even though it would give me the extra pawn because his rook would be shooting down.
Yeah, you could win a free pawn, so you're too scared to win the extra pawn?
Yep.
Yeah, it's sort of a main sacrificial line, losing his pawn, and whites get a fairly good attack. So if you don't know it, it's probably best to chicken out and not do it. So I think you did the right thing. So what do you want to do instead?
I'm pretty sure I played h6, but c5 might have been better.
Yeah, I'm not sure about h6, because like you've got to say what's his attack going to be. That bishop's sort of still sitting out there, because if you can force him to swap bishops without playing h6, then you haven't weakened your king side. So whether you play c5 or a6 maybe, but h6 is probably all right because he takes and you recapture with developing move. So you got your queen covering your dark squares, so it's probably all right. Okay, now he trundles off bishop d3. Now let's have a little test here. All right, everyone type in, what do you think Joey should play as black? What should be his next move? White's not really threatening anything, so black can do what he likes. Bill wants the castle. Bridges wants knight c6. Derek wants c5. Liam wants c5. Josh wants c5. No one's got the move you played, Joey. Did you play a bad move or did you play a good move?
I don't think it was all too bad, although it probably wasn't necessary.
Tell us what move you played.
a6?
Yes. Yeah, I think that's quite an okay move. See, the trouble is, you've got to worry about him playing knight b5 on you.
Yeah.
And what are you going to do about that c pawn? And if you chase knight away, then the knight jumps into d6 and horrible things like that.
I was thinking knight to b6 after he plays knight b5.
So, like, so you want to eventually play c5. So if you play c5 now, then he'd go knight to b5, and he's got that lovely square on d6. So this is a little bit of a lesson. No one got it apart from you. So you need to think not only what you want to do, but what your opponent's up to. So a little bit of prevention, a6. You know you want to play c5, but let's just prepare it first. So that was good. Well done. Okay. Oh, now his queen's come out to g4. So he's having a go at our weak g pawn.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a bit of a predicament. So let's get you guys to help us again. Now there's quite a few things we could do here. We could go, oh, hang on, I'll just do it on the board. Get rid of that. All right, so we could go rook g8 to defend the pawn. We could go king g8 to defend the pawn. Maybe queen f8. We could just ignore it and castle, or we could play f5 to cover it with the queen. So there's about 5 different moves we could do. So, or we could play g6, there's another thought. We could play g6. 6 different moves. So type in what you guys reckon you'd do. Gil likes g6. Joshua likes g6. Liam likes castle. British likes king f8. Maha's the castle. Justin and Julian are g6s. What do you reckon, Joey?
Probably castling.
Probably castling. All right. Maha and Liam are the only two who want to castle. So explain to us why you want to castle.
Well, he doesn't have any immediate threats, and even if he does play f4 or something, I can still survive that without too much of a struggle, I think.
All right. So a lot of people want to play g6. What do you think about that?
It's okay, but
is it okay? What's the
if I castle, then he can just push h5, and
he just push h5 and play. Yeah, push h5.
yeah.
You don't really want to take him, and if you play g5, then you've got a target. He can play maybe knight h3 and f4 or something. It's like you've given him targets to shoot at. So
Yeah.
I don't think g6 is the go. I think castles is the best one, as you say. It looks a little dangerous, but he doesn't seem to have an immediate attack, and you're going to counter-attack against his centre with c5, knight c3, and all that sort of stuff. So the general rule, as I've said before, is a flank attack doesn't work if you can do a counter-attack in the centre. But, Joey, you didn't do that. You did f5. Why did you choose that in the game?
Well, my queen's covering g7. It's an attack on his queen, and I thought even if he did take f6, my knight could come in anyway, and it wouldn't be looking too bad.
All right, so he did take on f6, and you did take with the knight, so you're hitting his queen, but what's the problem with this?
He can do a check and get his bishop in on a good square.
Right, so you'd seen he could do the check?
No, not... Well, I'd seen it by the time I was taking with the knight, but...
Oh, yeah, but when you played f5, you hadn't realised that you're sort of weakening that g6 square, and he can then check you with either the queen or the bishop so you don't castle and stuff?
No, I hadn't thought too much about that.
Yeah. All right. Are there any other drawbacks with this f5 and takes and knight takes? Just think positionally. How is it positionally?
Got a hole in g6 and a backward pawn on e6.
Yeah, you've also got a hole on e5. So you could put a knight on e5 or something maybe, and you've got a backward pawn, as you said, on a half-open file. So positionally, you've given yourself like a few weaknesses, and also he's going to be really naughty and check us, and now we can't castle. Yeah, so f5 is probably your first bit of a boo-boo. All right, now he drops his queen back. All right, let's have a think. What do we want to do? All right, guys, have a go. See if you can help Joey. Black to play. He's a bit worse now because he can't castle. What should he do? What move would you guys play here? So Bridges like knight d7. Everyone else is thinking really hard. Daniel likes c5. And no one else is having a go. Joey, what do you think? So c5. Do you like c5 or not, Joey?
It seems a bit late now because I'm opening up my king and all that.
Yeah, you'd be opening up your king and he's going to castle queenside, so his rook could be bearing down on the d file and everything. So we definitely don't want airy king syndrome anymore, so c5 would be a no-no. Justin likes knight c6. What do you think about that one?
I don't think it's too bad.
Okay, it's developing a piece and attacking the d pawn, so that's all right. But you chose a different move, and Oliver agrees with you. So what move did you choose?
Queen to b4.
All right, now tell me why your queen wants to go to b4.
It's a double attack on the d and b pawns, and I've seen it in the French defense before.
Okay, so the question is it a good double attack? Can you get out of it, or are you winning something, or what?
I hadn't really thought that castling queenside would manage to cover it.
So, but his obvious reply is going to be castles queenside, isn't it?
Yep.
So he's protected both those pawns.
Yep.
Made his king safe. He's got his rook into it. He probably wanted to castle queenside anyway. So, question is, what's that queen doing on b4? What do you think?
I guess
Have you got it?
the only thing it's doing now is leading a small attack. Not really sure.
Okay, so do you have an attack on the queen side against his king?
Small, maybe. Not at present.
Well, we talked about attacking last week, didn't we? And what was the sort of idea we tried to do with attacking? What the basic
Use
principle
all our
of attacking?
pieces.
Yeah, well, you can't just attack with one piece, even if it's the most powerful piece on the board. If he's got no weaknesses, how the hell's our queen going to get in? So you need another 2 or 3 pieces and open lines and stuff like that to have an attack. So you shouldn't be thinking attack, attack, attack. I guess this is the hard part of skill in chess, is to look at a position and work out what is the important thing in this position. So is it that you have a chance to have a double attack with your queen, or is it something else? Let's give people a go. So if you're black in this position, I don't want to move, what's the important thing from black's point of view in this position? Might be hard to describe. So Josh is trying to push e5. So Josh will be thinking about how can he push e5. Anyone else want to have a go? What's the important thing for black? What's his problem? Bridger says king safety. Maha says centre. All right, Joey, what's the important problem for black in this position?
I would probably think king's a bit open.
Yeah, I would think king safety. Your king is in the centre. It hasn't been able to castle. It's in the way of all our other bits. So you've really got 2 problems. If he can get his bits out, or if it opens up, your king's going to be in a mess. And the other problem is he's ahead in development. You've only got 2 bits out. He's got 3 and he's ready to castle. So you shouldn't be thinking of attacking. You should be thinking of defending. And like that queen on e7, that's your main defender. That's covering the e6 pawn. That's covering the g7 pawn. That's keeping him out. So you see what I'm getting at? So queen g4, queen b4 was just like the wrong idea.
Yep.
Okay, all right. So that's the second little mistake. All right, so he castles. Now you move your knight out. That's fair enough. Double attack on the d pawn. He moves his knight out. What do you reckon you should do here?
Not sure.
Okay. Well, you've got 3 pieces developed now. He's not threatening anything, I think. So what are you trying to do in this position? Like before, Joshua said you should be trying to push e5.
Mm-hmm.
Would that be a good plan, building up to push e5?
Probably not at the moment.
No, well, apart from the fact that you can't, but you want to keep it closed. You're behind in development. Your king's in the centre. The last thing you want is to open it up. So what should you be focusing on doing?
Keeping my king safe, maybe defending my e6 pawn.
Yep. All right, well, let's talk about your king. So is your king going to sit there, or is it going somewhere else? What are you going to do with your king?
It's probably best off further towards a8.
Yeah. So your plan, maybe you could look, let's play bishop d7, and your king runs over to b8, and then maybe hides on a7. Now that's going to take you 4 moves, so it's a bit of a trek. But if you were able to achieve that as your plan, then your rooks would be connected. You can get out and probably hang on a bit. So you should be thinking about that. What you did, rook f8. So why is the rook going to f8? Tell me about that.
I guess getting it on a semi-open file, although that's probably not too important.
Yeah, it's not too important. I mean, it's improving the placement of the rook, but there's probably more important things to do. Okay, so he develops his rook. So you see how he's got his king safe, and he's got all his men on good squares.
Mm-hmm.
So and he's got a bit more space on the king side. So he's like ready to go. So we've got to try and keep him out. So you moved your bishop to d7. That looks pretty obvious. All right. Then he told your queen to shove off. All right, guys. So let's have a look now. So our queen's got to move. We could go, lots of plays. We've got e7, d6, b6, a5, c4. Where do you reckon he should go? So Maha's going e7. Oliver likes to go to a5. Daniel wants to go back to e7. Bridget wants e7. Liam wants c4. Anyone else want to have a go? Okay, Joey, which one do you like?
d6, swapping off the queens and removing some of the tension.
Yes, so the best move, I think, would be queen d6, saying please, please, please swap off. Because if he was to go takes, then now you've got that extra pawn in the centre, and you no longer have the weak square on e5 for him to put his knight and stuff. Your king can probably go to c7 and hide. So you'd be pretty happy if he did this. Now, 1 or 2 people said maybe, oops, wrong arrow, said queen c4. Would that be a good move, Joey?
Probably not. It's a bit too easy to attack.
Rather than general reason, give me a specific move that's going to make this a really terrible spot for the queen.
Bishop d3?
Yeah, bishop d3 wins the queen. So listen, for all you guys, if you're thinking about your move, you say, I'm thinking about queen c4, you've got to say, what's he going to reply? Because queen c4 would lose the queen. Ooh. Right, so d6 was probably the best. Now he wouldn't take, he'd almost certainly play knight e5, threatening to go to f7, but then you could probably start running away with your king. And it's not nice, but you're sort of hanging on there with a little bit of a fighting chance. All right, but you didn't do that, I think. You went back to b6. What was your theory there?
I guess I knew I was losing at that stage, I guess, yeah. So I wanted to keep up the attack, not that there is much.
Yeah, keep the pressure on the d pawn. Yeah, see, because your brain's thinking the wrong thing. You're thinking in terms of attacking when you should be thinking in terms of defending. You're the one in trouble, so you've got to work out this position, I'm defending. All right, now he told your queen to go away, and you went to B5. Okay, and then he jumped into C5. So he's got a double attack going on your E pawn. Okay, let's have a think. What do you reckon Joey should do here? Black to play, white's threatening to win the E pawn, just with knight takes E6. Gil wants to play knight A5. Rajesh wants king E7. Liam wants rook E8, but he can just take it with a bishop. That wouldn't be much chop. What do you think, Joe? Any thoughts? Did you have a look at?
I'm not sure. Maybe king to e7, but then that's putting my king on the same file as his rook.
If I asked you to use your imagination and look at one silly move just for the fun of it, what move would you look at?
Knight to e7.
Is that an imaginative move? What's good about that?
I'm not sure. It's connecting the king, the queen and the bishop. It's attacking the...
The point I'm making is most chess players just coast along and they think about normal moves. But to be a good player, you've got to think about unexpected moves, surprise moves. So I've been asking some of my students to put their thinking cap on, just think of an unusual move. So like if it were me, I would have a quick look at knight takes d4 on the theory that if he takes me back, I get his knight. Now, of course, he can take on e6 and it doesn't quite work, but I would look at a move like that. So whether any of you guys had the inspiration to look at a move like that, that's what we need to do. Anyway, let's have a look. So knight e7. So you're giving him the pawn. All right. Let's suppose we're white for the moment, guys. So you guys can be the attacker. And we've got a few possibilities here. You can win that pawn on e6 if you want, or you can do something else. White to play, what do you reckon white's best move is? Because this is the interesting thing. Even though Tony Davis is like an 1850 player, which is quite a good player, he still makes a number of not best moves, second best moves or third best moves. And he misses chances. Now, what have we got here? Bridges is liking knight e5. Liam wants to take on e6. Joshua wants to take on e6. What do you think, Joey? You want to take an e6 or do something different?
Yeah, that's pretty clear.
Yeah, knight takes e6 is the obvious move. Wins a pawn, gets the king open a bit, all that sort of stuff. But a good player would cast his eye around the board and see, well, maybe there's something better. Let's just have a quick look. So I'll give you one more go, Joey. Cast your eye around the board. Find me a better move.
Knight to e5.
Nope. All right. I don't think anyone got it. No one got it. Backwards moves are hard to find. So what are you going to do if I do bishop d3, hitting your queen?
Queen to c6.
Queen to c6. Well, then I'm jumping in with knight e5.
Right, queen to b6.
So instead you want to go queen b6?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Now I've put your queen on a worse square and developed my bishop. What can I do that's exciting here? Oh, I know. Let's have a look. See, my bishop's moved. I can go queen takes g7. So I've got a double attack on your rook and your knight. So I think you're dropping a piece and it's pretty horrible. What do you reckon?
Yeah, that seems pretty lost.
Pretty yucky? Yeah, pretty lost. Right, so most people would do knight takes. Tony thought he'd be different and spectacular. rook takes is the one he did, but that was not the best move. Bishop d3 was the best move. All right, Joey, what are we going to do?
Probably just recap.
Yep. Okay. This is again the problem. Everyone looks at the obvious move. He took me. I've got to take him. We've got to be more tricky and inspirational and use our imagination. So find another move that might put him under a little bit more pressure. He's obviously expecting us to take, and he's going to take with a knight and fork us with a double attack on the king and the rook and the c pawn. So can we do a move he might have missed that maybe be a little bit tricky for him? I don't know. What can we do? Bridgesh is having a go at knight e4. Oh, Joshua's found the right move. Well done, Joshua. Anything springing to mind, Joey?
Maybe capturing a knight with my queen, but...
No. What you could do is Joshua's move, b6. So that's undermining the knight. So if the knight moves, you take the rook. If the rook moves, you take the knight.
So knight takes...
Like if he does a swap, knight takes... do we take with the queen or the king? I think we probably take with the queen. And we're a pawn down, but our position's looking a bit more solid. We can take that other bishop on g6, and our king can go and hide on b7 probably. So that might have been worth a thought. So don't always just take back just because you can. Anyway, he took. So he checks on e6. You went up to d7. What were you expecting him to do here?
Take my rook on f8.
All right. That's a good move, and probably the normal expected move, but he has a better one. So what move did he surprise you with?
Queen takes c7.
Yeah, so he's going for your king. Queen takes c7 and sacrificing his knight. So you pretty much have to take the knight. Then he hits you with the rook check. So now he's got a double attack on the e7 knight. So he's going to get the knight back maybe. Your king's looking a bit messy, and we'll see what happens. So you've really got to put your knight in the way in e4. So he takes with the bishop. So he's now threatening a discovered check with that bishop, which would be pretty ugly. So I think we have to take it. And he takes. All right, so now you're a whole rook up. What do you reckon? You've got a chance, or a forced mate, or hopeless, or what?
It looks like my king is about as bad as it gets, but if I can survive a bit, then the extra material would probably help.
Yeah, it looks pretty horrible, but you never know, because if he's got like a choice of between 3 or 4 moves, he might choose the wrong one. If he's got an obvious move and it's good, you're dead. But if it's a bit hard for him, even if he's an 1850 player, so we'll see if he finds the best move. All right, guys, where do you reckon Joey should put his king? We're in check. Our knight on e7 is looking a bit dead. Where should we put our king? Bridgesh wants f7. Everyone else is thinking hard. Maha wants f6. Liam likes f7. Joshua says maybe f6. Daniel likes f7. Which one do you like, Joey?
I'm considering f5. No.
Yeah. Yes.
Maybe.
Yes. F5 is the best chance, I think. Now he's got to look, does he play rook e5 and win your queen, or does he play queen f4 or rook f4? But your king can probably rush back and hide via g6 and h7. So you might hopefully not be checkmated, but in the game you went f6. Now there's a problem with this. Can you guys see the problem? White to play. See if you can find a better move than the move Tony Davis played. white to play, what would you do? Let's see how many can be better than Tony. Bridgesh wants Queen F4. Daniel wants Queen E7. Everyone else is thinking really hard. Come on, Josh, what do you want? No one else is having a go? Joey, what do you think?
I'm not sure.
What if I was to tell you guys, white has mate in 3? 1, 2, 3. It's like a puzzle. Can you see it? Mate in 3.
Queen to F4?
Queen F4. Doesn't he say Queen F5 in the way? How are you going to get a checkmate then?
Oh, right, yeah.
Okay.
Maybe.
Come on. Can anyone see mate in 3? They're all checks. Every move's a check because we examine all checks and captures. We're just a screaming queen takes E7 at me. He could be right, he could be wrong. Come on, Joe. If you were white, Joshua's trying rook F4. I think I can run away to G6 then, Joshua. And it's not going to be mate in 3. Bridges is now trying rook F4. You see it, Joey, or not?
No.
No. All right. This is why we look at all checks and captures. Now, the obvious move would be queen takes E7. As check, we win a knight. It looks fantastic. All right. But if we put out a thinking cap on if we've got time, queen D6 check. Now, you can't go to F5 because the rook F4 mate, so you've got to go F7. What would we do now, Joey?
Bring our knight in or take E7 with the queen.
Wrong, wrong. Look again. Look at all checks and captures. Look where the king can run away to.
Queen E6 check.
Queen E6 check. Yes, go there. Bang. How was that? So, fourth mate in 3. But Tony Davis missed it. He took the knight, the obvious move. You ran to G6. What do you reckon you should do here? Joe, if you were white, what would you do?
Rook to G4 check.
Yeah, rook G4 check is looking pretty strong. But again, white didn't play the best move. He played knight E5. Now, this gives you a chance if you play the right move. What move should you play?
King to H5.
Why is that the right move? Is that a nice safe spot on H5, or does he play G4 mate?
That's a good point.
Because remember, we've got to say, what's he going to reply? Come on, what would be the safest spot for your king? Do you want to run away outside your castle walls or hide in your castle?
H7?
Yeah, wouldn't you go to H7?
Yeah.
Now, if he goes like rook G4 or something, maybe you can just go rook G8. Doesn't look like he's got you straight away, does it?
No.
And he's got a knight and lots of pawns, so he's still winning, but you're still in the game. You've avoided defeat. But instead of hiding in your castle walls, you went up there, the attacking king. King F5, and his knight backed off. So now you're sitting there thinking, what the hell am I going to do? So you attacked his queen. He went rook check. Now you've got the idea, running away, but it's too late because he's got rook check. And you have to go to H5 now. He takes on G7. All right, he's threatening Queen G6 mate. Is it going to be forced, or is there a way you can get out of it?
Rook to E6.
Rook to e6. Going to be a bit difficult. That's not too bad. What about queen to f5? Would that cover things? I don't think it wins because he plays knight f4 check. You play queen takes check, rook takes. Now his queen's probably going to be able to pick up one of those rooks somehow. I guess we could go g4 check, rook takes, queen here or something like that. Right, but you're still fighting. But you went rook there, and he went mate. So you missed that one, or you're in time trouble?
Missed it.
Missed it, yeah. So the same old thing. Before you make a move, you've got to say, what's he going to reply, and have a bit of a look around. But that was an interesting game, bit of a king chase and everything. So thank you very much for showing everyone in the class that game today. Now, the big question is, what can you learn from that game? So tell me, is there anything special that springs to mind that we talked about that you could learn from that game?
Probably defending when your king's open rather than resorting to attacking.
Yes, so your strategy shouldn't always be attack because I feel like it or it's the thing to do. You've got to look at the position and say, what sort of position is this? Should I be attacking? Should I be defending? Should I just make little developing moves and wait around a bit? So your strategy is based on the position. All right, so that was good, yeah. So queen b4 I think was your f5 was a little mistake. Queen b4 was your main theoretical mistake, getting the queen there, and it turned out your queen was in a bit of a mess. You probably should have retreated to d6. But you can see from his side, he had lots of chances to finish you off, and he kept missing the best move. So even players 18, 1900, they're not really that strong. They do make mistakes. So with a little bit of experience and practice and everything, you guys can easily get up to that level in a few years' time, I would be hoping. All right, well, thank you, Joey. Thanks for being our guest student today. Thank you, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the lesson, and I think we have one more lesson this term next Thursday. So I look forward to seeing you all then. So thank you and good night.
The organizer has